Chargeback disputes are sometimes part of doing business and accepting payments with a merchant account. So in this video, I'm going to give you a specific list of ways to reduce and potentially eliminate chargebacks at your business. This video is part of a chargeback series, and the purpose of the entire video series is to help you gain a total understanding of what chargebacks are, how they work, and how to manage them at your business. Ultimately, the goal is to prevent chargebacks from happening in the first place. And so in this video, I'm going to cover the first 17 things that you can do to proactively reduce and possibly even eliminate chargebacks at your business. So a quick recap from the other couple videos in this series is that a chargeback is a dispute or disagreement between the cardholder and the business and is not the same as a refund. Number two is that there's financial penalties to you as the business owner every time a chargeback is issued against you, and there are progressive penalties for repeat offenses of chargeback disputes. Number three is that there are three types of chargebacks. Number one is outright fraud. Number two is chargeback fraud. And number three is friendly fraud. And those categories have over 100 different individual chargeback reason codes between the four major card brands, which are Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. Number four is fighting chargebacks not only costs money, it costs time and valuable resources, so sometimes it makes sense to hire a chargeback management company to handle the task for you. After you get through the list of prevention techniques, check the links in the description for my recommendation on chargeback management companies. So the prevention methods that I'm going to cover on the list today and in the video today deal largely with the friendly fraud chargeback category, which are chargebacks initiated due to common human errors like forgetfulness or being unclear of what they ordered or purchased. Friendly fraud deals largely with reasons for miscommunication, misinformation on either or both parties, and because of that, there are things that you can do as a company, that procedures that you can put into place to prevent chargebacks from happening. Remember, a merchant account is simply a dedicated bank account, so you can get shut down and even blacklisted if you abuse the account or go over that chargeback threshold. So it's best to stay on top of it and make sure that you're following the rules and complying with chargeback maintenance. You can download the free PDF and visit the blog post that shows all of the reasons as well if you prefer to just scan the list. But in the video here, we will discuss some things that won't be covered on the PDF and the blog post. So with that, here's the 17 best practices to reduce and eliminate chargebacks. Number one is to use a clear payment descriptor. This is the label that the customer sees next to their purchase on their credit card bill or their online statement when they go to check their statements at the end of the month, or if they have online banking, they'll be able to see the pending purchase almost immediately. And this descriptor pulls from the website gateway or the DBA or doing business as name that you have on file with your merchant account provider. So the best practice is to use your company name that the customer is going to recognize, so there's no confusion as to where the charge is coming from. You can even put a website address and or a phone number in the descriptor. Number two is to post your refund and exchange policy in your storefront and on your website, whatever is applicable for you. Inform your customer upfront and in advance of your refund policies so nothing is left to second guess. When major retailers have no questions asked return policies, even for open or used products, a lot of times that sets a precedent for people to follow, and everyone assumes that every business out there has a similar or that exact same policy. So just know that you're being compared to other businesses that have very generous return policies. So you want to keep that in mind and make sure to remember to set that expectation up front when the customer is making the purchase. Number three is to add a terms and conditions checkbox on the order form or the payment page if you're selling things online. On a side note, if you don't have a payment page service that can do this for you, or it's not built into the software that you're using, whether it's an e-commerce website or an order form, check the links in the description for other videos where I go into detail on best software tools to set up payments online. Number four, mail and email a copy of the sales receipt. Both of those things are great excuses to gather that information from your customer, and it's always a good marketing practice on a side note to get information from your customers so you can follow up with additional sales offers, things of that nature. For both retail point of sale systems as well as online order forms and e-commerce sites and invoicing tools, you should be able to set the permissions automatically to enter a customer email and have the software automatically send that receipt to your customer. So it should be very simple and very easy to do to mail and or email a copy of the sales receipt to your customer. Number 5 is for billing plans and recurring payment plans, and that is the simple practice of sending billing reminders and receipts for the charge that is made. So most billing plans and recurring payment systems will have the option to email receipt when the card is charged, and some even have reminders. Some softwares have reminders that can go out before the charge is made so that the cardholder can anticipate the charge that's coming up. At very least, you should send a notification of the charge as it comes through. Number 6 is to put your descriptor and links about the purchase on the thank you page or the confirmation page after the purchase. So as the customer checks out and clicks submit to buy a product or a service online, you can put links and any information that you would like about the purchase and about your refund policy and all your terms and conditions on the confirmation page so that your customer is aware of what they are. This could include a description of exactly how the bill is going to show up on the customer's credit card so they know what to look out for. Number 7 is to deliver products as quickly as possible. Don't hold on to customers' money. Don't hold on to their products. Don't hold on to the services or delay services. If possible, charge for services and products at the time of delivery. And if you need to charge in advance, make sure to execute work orders and deliver products as quickly as possible. The less time a customer has to wait for something that they've already paid for, the better it is. Number 8 is to be quick and responsive to customer questions and or complaints. In other words, don't delay. A lot of chargebacks will come through because the customer didn't hear back from a company or a business and they just didn't have any other recourse, so they drew their own conclusions and just called their credit card company and filed a complaint. Sometimes that happens in a week, sometimes it takes a month. The point is, be as quick as you can or as efficient as you can to respond to those emails, questions, phone calls, and so forth so that there's nothing left to guess and the customer has the information that they need about the refund. Number 9 is to record phone calls. This would be applicable for call center or office environments. Let the customer know about this procedure up front, of course, and make sure to check local, state, and federal guidelines about recording phone calls, of course. This measure is also a good reminder to let employees and your company staff and customers know up front that the call is going to be recorded so you have a record of it, and thus holding everybody involved accountable for the purchase and what was talked about and what was agreed to, so you could go back and review the calls for a purchase history if need be. Number 10 is to audit your batch totals for errors in dollar amounts. Check daily totals to make sure that they're in line with what your typical sales are. There have been instances, and I have seen cases where an employee made a simple mistake and added an extra 0 to a purchase total, and a $100 order, or what was supposed to be a $100 order, turned out to be a $1,000 order, and the sale went through. So make sure you have checks and balances, procedures in place to catch potential errors like this at the batch close or the end of the day. Number 11 is to get it in writing with a purchase order or have your customer sign a credit card on file form. If you are using this option, be sure to instruct your customer not to fill out their entire credit card number on the order form, especially, again, if it's a paper order form, because there are best practices for this, and I've made an entire video on the process of collecting payments online with a hosted payment page and a credit card authorization form. Essentially, what you want to do is just turn your credit card authorization forms into a card on file form and direct your customer to an online either shopping cart page or hosted payment form so they can enter their data, their credit card information directly into a secure portal rather than sending it to you via email or writing it down on a piece of paper and emailing it into you. Once again, there are plenty of software tools that have secure payment forms, whether they're form builders or payment page builders or e-commerce portals. Check the links in the description for recommendations on those services. Number 12 is to be very clear about your terms of service and specifically your refund policy. Let your customers know what it is that you are offering specifically and what you're going to charge and how you're going to charge. Are there hidden fees that could potentially come up? Is there continuity or recurring payments that the customer is automatically going to be opted into? Are there annual fees, monthly fees, membership fees? Are there any sort of charges that a customer could mistake for one thing, like a one-time charge or one product or service, but then it automatically renews in your system? Make sure that your customer understands everything that they're going to be buying and everything that's going to go into taking the customer order and completing the order for your product or your service. Number 13 is to make sure you gather as much information as possible about your customer for the purpose of the sale. This could be name, email, phone number, address. Those are the obvious and common ones. The more information that you gather from the card holder, the better it is for the transaction and the more protection that you're arming yourself with for a future chargeback should it take place. Number 14 is to make sure your customer knows your customer service protocol. So in short, make sure they know how to get a hold of you by phone and email. Send them emails with this information. Make sure that they have a copy of it at the time of the sale. Make sure your phone number is prominently displayed on all of your marketing materials and your website. Just make sure that it's out there for your customers to see and invite them that if they have any questions about the bill or the charge or anything, any questions whatsoever, they can get a hold of you. Number 15 is to use the address verification and the CVV system, which is the 3-digit code on the back of the credit card at the time of the sale. This feature comes with every payment gateway and every retail device, and it's not only the 3-digit code on the back of the card, but it can also include the street address for address verification, that is, the billing zip code, and this would be entered at the time of sale. So gathering this extra information helps ensure that the purchase is actually legitimate, because in the case of a stolen card or some other type of fraud, a lot of times only the credit card number would be entered, but if you have the CVV code and the address verification information entered into the point of sale device, it makes the transaction that much more secure. Number 16 is to eliminate the late fees, interest charges, and or penalties that customers are likely to object to. So if a late fee gets added to a charge, it could, in some cases, increase the likelihood of a transaction being disputed. So the question becomes, is it really worth trying to collect a $10 or $20 or $30 late fee on a $100 transaction? Or maybe it's a higher transaction dollar amount. Maybe it's $500 or $1,000 or more. Is the $10 or $20 late fee really worth it to you? So it's important to note, I'm not saying that you have to eliminate late fees or interest charges or anything like that. If that's part of your business model or maybe part of your service, obviously you wouldn't eliminate it. But what I would refer you back to is numbers earlier in the list, which is to just make sure that those are very, very clearly stated, that there's a $10 or $20 late fee if they go a day past the due date or whatever it may be. Make sure that you're letting the customer know up front. And number 17 is to use fraud detection and or a chargeback monitoring service that is completely managed for you, that helps you reduce and even in some cases will completely eliminate chargebacks from happening because they're electronically monitoring every single transaction that comes through your merchant account. So the cost of an average chargeback is around $40. It could be more, it could be a little bit less, but between the chargeback fee and the retrieval fee, it's on average about $40. And chargeback management companies have programs that will catch this chargeback from happening before it ever gets reported to your merchant account provider, thus saving you that fee as well as the headache of going through the process. If your business has chargebacks, no matter how many, check the links in the description to get in touch with myself or someone on my team to talk about that management service. If you're new to my channel, thank you for being here. Give this video a thumbs up, especially if you learned something new that will apply to your business. And if you want more videos like this on the topics of payment processing, integrated payments, merchant accounts, and collecting payments in general from your customers, make sure to subscribe, share the video with your friend, give the video a thumbs up. That always helps these videos get found. And I'm Brian Manning, and I'll see you on the next one.